only some small topics, I guess. And then there is room for some discussion. We have some updates around releases, and we just published a tech documentation that I will run through quickly, and then open for discussions, proposals, Q&A, whatever is needed for the call. Some first slide about the Share&Charge Foundation, quick intro. We are a nonprofit for the mobility industry, developing IT solutions, and very specifically the open charging network. And we have various supporters out of the industry that testing out the technology, using it, and we are open for anyone to join. We've built the open charging network, which is basically enabling OCPI roaming, simple and cost efficient and secure way. And those developer calls that we are now having every month, they are essentially tackling issues around this technology. And obviously there's also a Q&A and proposals that we will discuss, or that we usually discuss throughout these calls. And there are two resources that might be helpful throughout this call, but also in general when you want to look up things. The one is the wiki under docs.openchargingnetwork.org, or our repository is obviously under code.openchargingnetwork.org. Then let's dive into it. John, anything from your side regarding releases? I guess we have some small things, right?
Yeah, that's right. The 1.1 release, as everyone knows, is out now. I'm just checking the downloads page and the repository. Looks like there's been a few downloads, which is good. And the 1.1.1, I'm just in the process of getting out the door. So it's a small minor fix, which is an improvement to the planned priority search if there's deleted parties. So you can look forward to that in the next few days. I think that's it from a release angle.
Okay, cool. Then I'll share quickly some insights into the documentation, maybe also feedback from you guys would be appreciated. Adam, John, Arjun, and also of course Felix, maybe you, if you have any. Can you see this document, the documentation? Okay, cool. That's what we just launched today, and I guess you know the major parts of it already, and you can go into the details when you just download it. But one big difference now is that we when we look at the business analysis and who's the user of the open charging network, we previously just had the CPO and the MSP, and now we added the service provider, which has a business case of like offering services to OCPI parties, and that we just added and changed then the high-level use case, so that all of them, they have a joint high-level use case, which is provide EV charging services based on an interoperable communication, identity, and permission infrastructure. That is basically the high-level use case for the open charging network. So that's one big change that we made. Then obviously also on the business actor side, there's not only the MSP and the CPO who are a OCN party, but also the service provider is a OCN party that can use the OCN. And then for the functional architecture, we initially only had the function 1 was the setup, and the function 2 was the communication between the OCN parties. The function 2 became now function 3, and that we didn't change. It's still OCPI as we know it. But then we now introduced the permission handling function. And to go into detail around that, let me scroll down. Here, there you go. And the function 2 is basically divided into two different sub-functions. The one is the defined black and white list, what we know as the OCN rules. Because Benedict and I, we thought, yeah, this is also one kind of permission, basically, that an OCN party can define, who can actually send messages to one party and who not. And the other sub-function that we introduced, and that is related to the OCN service interface, is that then the OCN node, the OCN parties, they can agree to service permissions that were previously defined by an OCN service, for example. And then also provided some very simple process or sequence diagrams around that. And for the function 3, we extended that with this part, which is then actually the forwarding a message to a third-party service provider, for example, this billing service or whatever. Then this is an optional part, obviously, if the OCN party has signed up for a certain service or has given the permissions, then the message gets forwarded to the OCN node of the service, and then the very end to the OCN party, the service, and that is doing then their service with it. I guess those were the biggest changes. We added 2 more information objects. One is the OCN rule entry, where a party can define who's actually allowed to send messages, OCPI message to someone. And the other one is then the OCN service entry, where the service can define the name, URL, and the permissions. And I guess that's it. Change the actor component mapping because we have here the service provider, which is also a service backend and a service backend server. And I guess that's it from my side regarding the documentation. Any feedback from you regarding that?
I think that looks great. The service providers is a big addition to it, I think. Well done.
Cool. And also the how we divided the functions, is that how you would see it as well?
You're talking about how you moved, I think moved some of the functions. Was it function 2 that you moved around?
The one is the setup, like with registering, connecting to an OCN node and all that kind of stuff. Then the second one is the permission handling. And the third one is then the communication part.
I bet that makes sense to me. Permission handling is below the communication because it's a part of operation. Okay. This is following this model that is introduced in the very beginning, the EMSA framework from Benedict, that is developed in his research, basically. And I guess you need to ask Benedict about, I can't really explain it very well why it's ordered like that. I guess we need Benedict for this, for answering this question. He came up with this methodology. Sure. I mean, it makes sense to me that the permissions are above setup as they enable then the communication. So I think the ordering makes sense then.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that's it then from documentation side. Or Adam, Arjun, any comment from you?
It looks great. It looks fine to me. The way the document is segmented, it's understandable.
Yeah, also agree.
Okay. Yeah, cool. It's now available in the on the Confluence page for everyone to download. We also communicated it today via our other channels. So yeah, and also send it to some parties that requested it. Yeah, so looking forward to also feedback from the community then. Okay, cool. Then I close that now. Yeah, then that's tech documentation. I'm not sure whether we can discuss anything regarding issues proposals. I guess from my side, there's not really an update. Yeah, working with one party on an addition for the OCN that we could potentially develop in the next half year, but nothing to share yet on that side. No.
Sure, I wouldn't mind taking a look at the issues list and seeing what our top priorities might be. I'm not sure what development resources would be allocated where, but just from a priority standpoint, wouldn't mind getting some feedback.
You want to share your screen then?
Sure.
Cool. Oh, I need to make you presenter, all right? Make co-host. Now you should be able to.
Yeah, thank you.
Does it work?
Yeah, I might. I think I'll need to rejoin and do that actually. Maybe I'll sync you.
I can also
If you
show it.
share your screen, keep your share going.
Chat. Ah, okay. Yeah, I opened it up. Yeah. The internet's so slow. Yeah, it obviously is. Okay, there you go.
Right.
Anything after which column should I sort
So
it?
you sort by priority there and see if we can get the top ones. Yeah, so I think this JVM, incorrect handling of base 10 exponents, is the top bug, which makes sense to me.
Anything to discuss here? Or?
I don't think so. I think there's a bit more testing. You can see the note there at the bottom, whether or not this affects both positive and negative exponents. But even if it only affects negative, which is what Adam initially uncovered, I think it's still worth fixing sooner rather than later. Yeah. Would you agree with that, Adam and Ajahn? Does this still stand out to you as an important bug to fix?
Yeah. I think so. This would necessitate a new notary release, right? a patch.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's also depends on that. What is the chance to get this type of values, like negative exponential exponents?
Yeah, it's true. It's like in the perhaps very beginning of a charging session where you have a very low consumption. This could be the case. That was at least what happened in my situation.
Mhm.
But it's kind of unlikely to affect normal usage.
Right. Although I think you were saying also, was it an environmental, was it an environmental part of the module? This could come up.
I don't remember exactly. Ah, yeah. there are some
Impact
environmental-
objects.
So it can be the case, and we should obviously fix it.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, if you go back to the issues list, then are there any updates? Any other? I think at our last call we had ended on this third-party services interception, and we were going.
Is it me or is John having a bad interconnection? I struggle to understand John.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Okay. John, if you have asked about this issue, then yeah, no updates from that side. Yeah, I haven't heard any news from this party. Yeah, that they actually now want us to implement this. So I would still pause it until we get a final request basically from them that this is a necessity. Otherwise, I guess it's not worth investing. It's obviously a logical next step, but I would really wait until we get a user actually requesting it.
Okay, so hopefully my sound's coming through here. I think as a component of that third-party services interception, we had talked about implementing a history feature on the OCN notary, so that the intercepting parties could know, could maintain the to and from routing information. I'm wondering if we've talked, I think, in other issues too, that would just in general be a valuable thing for the OCN. Do you think is that worth separating into a separate issue and perhaps implementing, even if we haven't necessarily settled on?
Yeah, at least describing it more in detail, I guess it's valuable. Having it on the issue list is valuable, I guess. Yeah.
I agree. Also, it helps with validating a request that the node might have changed. Yeah, in case it has to change some values for whatever reason. So this is a nice quality of life improvement, regardless of this proposal.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, then we're separating that. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Okay, I can make an issue then for this feature.
Cool. Thanks, man. That's cool.
The only other point that I wanted to mention on the issues list is if you sort by the node, by repository there, Chris, and by the OCN node. Yeah, that second one down from the top, they're adding instructions regarding, did I spell dependency wrong there? Yeah,
created that.
I,
Okay. Mhm.
just looking to add some more instructions on how folks who would like to set up an OCN node would go about doing so, with the default direction of using a Postgres.
Is that the issue that the other guy on the community channel had, right? Or is
That's
it-
right.
Oh,
Yeah, I think he had some questions about it, and he was looking to set up Postgres and the node as a Docker Compose system. Yeah, so I'm not sure if we'd want to also include that as maybe a default Docker Compose file, that if you want to set up something that's, I suppose, in production, or, well, at least something that includes a persistent database, we could also offer a Docker Compose file.
For the testing purpose, like right now, for the testing purpose, Postgre would also use something like that. For the testing, integration testing, maybe Postgre database is not using right now, isn't it?
Yeah, for the integration test, we're using an in-memory database.
Memory database, yeah.
Hmm.
So
But-
like there should be an option to do the test with the Postgre in the testing. It should be a default one. Like, should we keep the memory database, or we will implement the test case with the Postgre?
Yeah, I think you're right, John. It would be an improvement to use Postgres for the integration tests. I would separate that into a different issue, but I think that is a good thing to do as well.
But also for the defaults, when you download the OCN node, whether it's the jar file on the downloads page, or you build it yourself in the repository, or you run the Docker image, it by default uses the in-memory database, and this is not really usable outside of development. So providing then Postgres as a default connection option, as well as, yeah, providing a bit more instruction on how to like set up a proper system. Like, you want to run maybe the OCN node as a microservice along with Postgres. How does it work with the rest of your backend services? Some more instructions using Docker there would be very helpful, I think. And that's what this issue in the community channel was about recently.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I think you're saying maybe expand the scope of this issue to include just overall better setup instructions.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 parts to it. One is providing a default option, and there's obviously the instructions that are more tailored to, how do you run this in production? With Docker, probably the specific target. And yeah, then the third part of it, as Arzon mentioned, the integration tests.
Right. Okay, thanks for your feedback then on this issue. I'll add some notes.
Cool. Then I go back to the issue list, right?
Right. Yeah, I would just ask if anyone else has any other priorities or issues that they see as being
Whatever the Bitbucket
important.
fails, like Bitbucket bit fails on half-line info integration test.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah, John, you were quoting that.
Yeah, the hub client info integration tests are failing intermittently. I believe it's a timing issue.
But we face this type of issue several times during the integrations, during the release of OCN Node. So we face this problem a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, and you've been able to reproduce it locally as well, John, if I remember correctly. So it's not just on Bitbucket. Yeah, I agree. This would be good to look at as well.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
All right, not much else to add then from my end.
Okay. Then yeah. There we are. Any other general topics that we need to address here? Not from my end. I guess Felix also just left, so there also might be no Q&A. Okay, then I wrap it up with this general slide that we typically also use for showing what is around the Open Charging Network. Yeah, as already mentioned, the wiki, we have the repositories, then we have a Slack channel that you can join as an active community around the OCN. And yeah, our next community call is actually not on the 10th of November, because that is today. It's on the 8th of December, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that's the second Tuesday in December. And yeah, we will also for that set up a Confluence page to update you. Yeah, then that's it.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
All right.
Evening
Good
or day.
Thank you very much. Have a great
Good evening.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.